Hey, welcome back to the Form of Reality. You know, Mike, it's been a while.
Yeah, and I've missed it.
Well, I have too. I know we've all been very busy with different different shows that we throw out to the communities, etc. But I'll be quite frank with you, this is my favorite.
Right, me too.
And the reason it's my favorite is that we bring on a really great group of guests. And I've had a chance to look at some of the Form of Reality things, and one of my favorites is D. Taylor Mason.
Always a delight to talk to.
Yes, yes. And she comes from England. And Dee, we want to welcome you to the start of a new series of shows.
Oh, it's my great pleasure, and thank you for inviting me again. It's always good to make contact with you both.
Well, now you're from England, right?
I'm from England, yes, the south of England, which is experiencing some beautiful weather today, end of September.
Oh, very good, very good. And I know that you have been very busy the last year and a half doing many new different things. So would you like to share with the audience some of the things that you're involved with?
Yes, in the past, I've trained as a healer. I'm also an intuitive and read tarot cards, do NLP, hypnotherapy, and thought field therapy. And it has worked really well for me, putting some of those things together to create a tailor-made sessions for my clients. But recently, in the past year, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection and looking, and we're constantly growing, obviously, day by day, and new ideas come in. And especially with things like affirmations, they have been working amazingly well for me, so I pass those on to my clients also. But it is mainly about quietening the mind, trying to get the mind quiet. With everything that's going on in this world right now, we need to have this quiet, peaceful time, mindfulness, people will call it. So that's what I've been doing over the last 18 months or so.
I've heard a lot of people, I don't know if it's probably related, doing that by unplugging from social media and the TV and different things, just getting away from all the noise.
Yes. Yes, I don't do that. I actually watch TV. I'm kind of prompted to watch TV. It's a lot of my work, I think, is done kind of off grid. So, you know, it's kind of keeping myself in a higher vibration as well, but also being aware of what is going on in the world, because, you know, we're still in this 3D place, and we still have to live and enjoy life as we are. But yeah, interesting times.
When you work with individuals, is there a common kind of concern that those individuals have that you can help raise their vibrations?
Yeah, each one's individual, and what I've noticed in the past couple of weeks, people coming for readings, for instance, two of them, past lives were showing to me while we were sitting having the conversation, and one in particular had been a nun and also a monk. And so they had had a solitary life in that time. So this came out very strongly for me that I had to remove that energy. They'd been in it for long enough. They're in their midlife, and it was time to leave that alone. And they live a very solitary life right now. So I was able to remove that energy, that energetic field from them. It was time for that to go. And it was amazing. The physicality changed of the person, you know, ready to smile and have people in her life again. And yeah, that's happened with a couple of people. So things change daily, really. There's no set theme of who I get, but I do get some beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful energies coming my way. So clearly, our energies are a match to work.
Now, one thing I've heard from doing this program is what you're saying about being a monk or a nun is people
Yeah.
take vows. And
Yes.
unlike the vows that we take for marriage, until death do us part, that has an end
Yes.
date. That when you
Yes.
take a vow of celibacy or whatever as a nun or a monk or something, there's no end time or end date put on that. And so that may go to the next life or two.
Oh, definitely. When you make these vows for eternity, they are for eternity. So it is a wise thing to actually just go in to yourself, do a meditation, and ask for these vows to be removed. You could use Archangel Michael for this also. He would be very good at helping you to assist you to remove these vows. And you may have made vows of chastity. There may be vows of poverty that didn't want to actually have the responsibility of money again. So, it's very interesting that life after life, these go on. And it also helps if you have somebody in the family that's actually doing this work for the ancestors, therefore it moves down the ancestral line. So therefore it doesn't need every member of the family to remove that. For instance, myself, I've worked on this. So then it will have a knock-on effect on the rest of my family.
So what if you wouldn't know what kind of vows you took in previous existences? What would you do, or how would you? Is it a prayer that you would go through to remove those?
It would be simply if you recognize there's a pattern, and I will use myself for this. For me, it was a financial block. However that came about. So I would just go into a meditation and ask, take me to the point of entry of this situation. And then if it was shown to me, we could actually work on that. I do this within hypnotherapy as well, but you can do this individually. And you could just go and ask Archangel Michael to remove all blocks of any description to remove them for my highest good.
Can you do that for other people who may not believe? Like a child or something?
Oh, yeah, well, that's about going down to the ancestral line. If you say you had a grandchild that you wanted to remove something from, you thought there was something there, you could actually do that. You'd work for you because it will come through for that child, yes. But for other people, I would be careful of that. It would have to be their intention.
Okay, because they're here for their own journey and their own life lessons, and you'd hate to steal that away from them, right?
Exactly, and then they'd have to come back again. There are some things my sons have had to go through, and I was told I couldn't do anything about that, and that was it with help. Right. And if I had done anything, well, it wouldn't have worked anyway, but they would have to come back and repeat the same lifetime.
Yeah, it's tough as a parent to watch certain things happen.
Yeah.
I was just curious, on the energy. Do you emit energy? Like, for instance, if you're in a very positive mode, you throw that out? Or are you an individual that brings in that energy?
I seem to hold a lot of energy. I'm often guided to go out in public places, so that energy is actually dispersed. I have no control over that. It's just something that is part of who I am. And I obviously can't read my own energy fields, but Magenta, who you know, whenever I see her, she just reads me. It's like looking at a book, apparently. So yes, I do neither. I just am.
Do you find that social media has an energy of itself? Like, for instance, Facebook or Twitter, or that it emits energy?
Yes, I do. And I find I go on less. If I post things, it's usually something light, it's something uplifting. But some of the comments that come on there, yes, it does have an energy and it's not very good. I'm not really on Twitter, but I would imagine they're all the same. But if you post something on there and then you get all of these negative comments, that's energetically coming into the field.
One of the things that I found in listening to to celebrities, that celebrities who have been to 2 or 3 movies that are susceptible to the energy that is thrown from their fans. And that
Yeah.
if there's a lot of negativity, that energy goes to those celebrities, and it can make them sick.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is something you can do about that.
What's that?
I see that as putting yourself in a bubble of energy, or even imagine you've got mirrors around you, and the mirrors are facing outwards. So any negativity from that person or people will be sent straight back to them. This also works if you have a telephone call with someone and it's not going too well. Just imagine yourself, you've gone into this protection mode of reflecting that energy back to them.
That's interesting.
Do you do anything with like crystals? Because I know there are certain crystals that will soak up bad energies.
I have collected crystals over the years. I've given quite a lot away, but suddenly over the last 2 weeks, I run a meditation group on a Monday, and before they come, I meditate, and it's interesting. The crystals have come back. They all want to be involved now, so they're on the table and they're doing their work. As far as protection goes now, we're in a state of sovereignty, and by that I mean back into our own power. So I am getting guidance on when you actually are standing in your own perfect power, you are sovereign, and therefore not necessarily needing to use protection.
So sometimes I get the impression that men and women handle that power, that protection differently.
Yes.
And here we go with my age and my biases and prejudices, etc. But I had heard that it's easier for women to soak in energy on a general basis, and for men
Yes.
to throw out energy. I don't know if that's really true, and my apologies if I insult someone, but I see that.
Certain people are more empathic.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I don't know if you're finding, but there are quite a lot of men now who are becoming very sensitive, and on this level, they're really connecting, and it's wonderful to see that as well. It's wonderful to see more men becoming involved as they're opening up to the energies of change.
That's interesting. I know that the vibration. Do you see energy around people?
Often I do, not always. I have a feeling. I get feelings about people. I get more. It's more about feeling for me, I would say. But I sometimes see energies around.
Now, energies, are you talking spirits or just the energy emitted from someone?
The energy emitted from somebody, but I also do see spirits occasionally. Yes, yeah. When I'm doing any work with the client, I tune into my guides, I tune into their guides, and then we all work on that level of, for the highest good for that person. So I sometimes have guides talking to me who are not my guides, if you see what I mean. So we can ask the right questions to get the right help that person needs.
Now,
So
over a lifetime, or I don't know, over a week or a year or something, do different spirits or energies come to be around a person at different times?
Oh yes, definitely, especially when consciousness is starting to open and you're starting to ask questions. For instance, sometimes I'll ask my guide a question. They'll have to go off and find the person who can answer that question. And that's what happens with people as well. People who are not exactly tuning in as I am, their guidance will just come in. Imagine, it's almost like you're on a computer and you're Microsoft, you want to know X, Y, and Z, so you press the button for that. And then that guide, in the simplest terms, would be there. That energetic connection would be made.
I talked with a lady a number of years ago who pretty much did the same thing, in consulting other individuals. And she had said that once or twice before the meetings, specifically myself was one of them, that the guides came to visit her prior.
Yes.
Has that occurred to you?
Yeah, I sometimes get the sense that they're there. They haven't really spoken to me, but I can remember in my early days when I went to see a medium, and he told me that my mother had been there for hours nagging at him to, say this, that, and the other, whatever it was. So, yes, I do know there's quite a few mediums have that ability. I get things sometimes from my friends, it might be I'm walking or the most, when you're not always concentrating on anything, and then a guide may come in and say X, Y, or Z. So that's interesting as well. Sometimes I get things I don't feel appropriate to pass on, because it may be something to do with their health, which I wouldn't want to alarm them with. So I'll have to deal with it very carefully.
Now, in the time that we have taken this break, we've had 2 grandchildren.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So, do you see spirits around babies, children, or is there a time that they come in, or is that from birth on?
Yeah, I see that. And I've got a grandson of my own. He's now, he's 4 in November, and he is the brightest soul. He is the brightest soul. And being the grandmother, of course, it often misses a generation. So he will hopefully have some of my gifts. And we're very close. I feel a very close affinity to him. But yes, I think most of the children who are born now have this wonderful energy about them. These are the new generation of enlightened beings who are coming in right now. And what a gift, to actually, I don't know about you, Mike, but, you don't realize how much love you have in you until you actually meet your grandchildren.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's definitely different. And, it's letting the family enjoy their life, and you being part of it as well.
It's interesting on the other side in studying different spirits and energy forces. We have guides, we have angels,
Yes.
we have spiritual mentors, we have family members, and we have negative spirits. Is there such a thing as negative spirits?
Well, I think you always there's opposites to everything. And the negative spirits, they can be a bit naughty and mischievous. And this is where discernment comes in, really. You have to, I use this rule. It works for me. I'm not quite sure if it is the law as I've heard of it. But if somebody comes in who's new to me, I would ask them 3 times, are you working with the light? And they may say yes on the first and second, and on the third they may say I am not, or just disappear. Well, that works for me. I'm not quite sure anybody else works with that, but you have to be careful. You have to be careful. Feel how your healing, your energy antennae is working, and just be aware, because they can work very cleverly for maybe quite a while with you, and then suddenly start to feed you information that isn't right.
Now, I don't know if it's off the subject or not, but I have heard about Ouija boards, and that opens you up to maybe some of these bad or mischievous spirits, or not. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I personally don't like them. I've only ever used one once, and it was with a friend. I didn't know anything about her background, but I knew her quite well on a day-to-day basis. And something came up about her sister who had died. and it freaked her out, and we lost the friendship over it because she thought people knew and were making it happen. So I do think probably they work. It's not a medium that I would want to use personally.
Right.
I'm just curious, following that, there seems to be a certain kind of energy, and I know you're not an expert on voodoo. Maybe you are, but
No, not at all.
but is that use of negative energy in your estimation, or is that part of negative spirits? Would you formulate an opinion on that?
Oh yeah, and it's almost like when people used to put spells on people in the old days, and curses. All of that works, from what I understand. But yes, it is negative, but it's negativity coming from the person who's actually the intermediary of it. Yeah, quite dangerous.
I would kind of look at it like, witchcraft or Wicca or something. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad.
I know that.
You would agree?
I would definitely agree with that. Yes, it's all about, isn't it? Light and dark. Light
Yeah,
and
intentions.
dark. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think with the poltergeist, that is a cumulative energy that is
Yes.
just bubbling away. And if we
Yes.
are a very negative individual, if we can create those poltergeists, and I think it's the
Yes.
same way with voodoo. I don't know. It would be interesting to find someone
Yeah.
that would talk about voodoo, because we only hear the negative, or
Yes. Yes. I did. I'll tell you about an experience I had in the early days. I have a friend who's an alcoholic, and with alcoholism, often they have negative energies around them, encouraging them to drink, gamble, or whatever it is. And this guy was the son of a friend of mine, and I knew about releasing some energies from people, so I did that. And it was quite a strange experience, really. I'll go into it because this is where people work differently. I had one friend who she remote viewed. So she could be in another room and see the entity, but if she was with the person, she couldn't see it. So we set up this, my house at the time. I had a healing room, and we set that up. Everybody arrived together, and the other healer and I hadn't got our strategy sorted. So we had the guy sit in a chair, and we asked him to close his eyes. So we're having a conversation without him hearing about what we were going to do. So she actually talked one of these entities out of this man. And then she went out of the room to check to see if it worked as a remote viewer. So then my guy said, you need to get him on your treatment bed, which I did. And then I was guided to actually put my hands on his head and draw this entity out. And I've only done it once. I wouldn't do it again. As I was doing that, the guy was very tuned in spiritually. He saw these two red eyes flashing at him. And then I pulled him out, the entity. It shot through me and then went into the light that I'd actually created to put that entity in, and off it went. But because it shot through me, it sent all my chakras off balance, and I had to go and see a healer to actually have that put right. So that's my only experience of that. I wouldn't personally do that again. It was very, very powerful entity. And also I had great guidance with me and my angels around. We'd set off this light to actually move it from there to there, but got through to me first. But I was still okay.
Interesting.
What was the results of that, afterwards?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, this is what happens. The guy was fine, and the experience, he was very aware of actually something had been with him. But unfortunately, he thought because that had gone, he was able to take another drink.
Oh.
And of course, we went back on the same pathway.
Okay.
I can appreciate what you're saying. About 50 years ago, we had several priests And at that time, there was more emphasis on traditional religions, and several priests exorcised an individual. And two of the three priests said they would never do that again because the results, supposedly they were able to do a good exorcism rather, but one of the priests was driving back home, and every time a truck was coming, he felt the need to turn into the truck.
Yikes.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
so, there is good that comes from helping that spirit, but like what you're saying is that there can be problems too.
Yeah, this guy was angry. He was really angry. Yeah, really angry to have to leave. But it just shows that the two ways of working there. My friend, she talked one out who was obviously probably not as prominent within that energy field. But it was, I think, it was also a lesson for me. It was showing me how powerful we are, and we can actually do that. And I say it was all set up perfectly. I had no idea that I would be doing that day.
Understand? Dee, we only have about a minute and a half left. Would you like to share with the listening audience some wisdom?
Some wisdom. Right. Well, I think the thing I would hold as great wisdom right now is gratitude. And with that gratitude comes all manner of things changing. Even in your darkest moments, if you can think of something, even if it's when you go to bed and lay on your pillow and just think, oh, thank you, I'm in my bed. And if you could think of 5 things a day, and it's interesting, I did have a book of gratitude, and after about 20 days, it's sometimes difficult to think of things to be grateful for, but you find yourself in the daytime looking and checking on things that you can actually put in your book that day. And it is amazing, because as soon as you've gone into the gratitude on a regular basis, it's like an affirmation, you're actually changing your energy field. So I think that's my thought of the day.
I think that's great wisdom. Mike, I really enjoyed talking with Dee, and we're gonna be talking with her again very soon. So, any final thoughts?
Not really, except gratitude is one of those higher vibrations.
Yes, very true, very true. Dee, thank you very much for coming and talking with us. I'm Patrick.
I'm Mike, and thanks for watching Form of Reality.
Thank you so much for having me.